Hello and welcome back. In this video, we will take a look at using directives. Directives are common Tailwind specific rules with an @ sign. You can use directives in your CSS to offer specific functionality for Tailwind project. The first set of directives you meet in Tailwind is the @Tailwind directive. You can find that in your project. Here I stored it in folder CSS, and when you open it up, you will see the @Tailwind directives. This is used to load precept Tailwind classes like base classes that contains precept for HTML tags like UL, LI, image, header, H1, all tags in HTML. Component class that is used to make a combination of classes for making cards, menu, and buttons, and many more components. And then the utility classes that loads hundreds of utility classes like padding classes, margin classes, filters, color classes, text styling, and many more. This is the class that generates the CSS file that contains all the classes that are used in your page. Next directive is the @Apply directive. This is used to create custom classes using Tailwind precept classes. Let's say we want to create a button. I'm going to start by styling this button with Tailwind classes. I'll say BG blue 500 and text white. I'll say padding X7 and padding vertical 2, also rounded LG with a margin of 1 and a shadow of LG2. Let's put it XL. And then I'm going to put a background blue of 500 and a text white with a font semi-bold. And then I'm going to have an over effect which translates on y-axis by 1. So if you put your mouse there, you'll see that movement. And because of the jagged movement, I'm going to give it a duration of 500. You see, it has this movement. I'm going to turn all this into a class component called button. So I'll cut it all out and I will go into my input CSS and say .btn. That's the name of the component. And I will use the apply directive and put all the classes that I cut out. btn becomes a class that I can put here, and that creates my button. You can see it automatically creates a button. So if I want another button, I can just say button.btn click 2, and that creates another button. So, and it has all the functionality because this becomes a component that I can use in my button. If you're used to Bootstrap and some other frameworks, this is how it works. It has predefined components. And you're not limited to just one class. You can put multiple classes. For instance, if we want to make this btn a little bit more generic, we can cut out the background and the text. I can now have btn primary, where I have another set of class that has a blue background, white text, and also an over effect for the text. I can also have another one for secondary that applies an orange background, white text, and then also an over effect on the text. Now let's add for these. I'm going to say btn primary, and that will join the primary and the secondary together, and you have it working this way. For the second one, I'm going to say btn secondary, and that takes on the secondary color, and then it works the same way. You can see we have limited amount of text being added here. Let's try to increase the horizontal padding for the first button. I'm going to give it a very big horizontal padding of 14, but you will notice that the horizontal padding didn't change. Let's do horizontal padding for this and let's make it 20. It still didn't change. This is because the classes for changing padding are all stored in the utility classes. And when creating our class, it first created all the classes that are in the utility classes, and then it came to create the apply, and then it created the 20, and then came and saw px7, and that px7 overwrote the px20 and px14 that we applied later. So what you should do is put all this before the utility class definition. So I'm going to highlight all this, cut it out, and put it before the utility class definition. That is, after seeing P7, then it should look at the utility class PX14 and PX20. You can see the buttons are now bigger than the way they were before. A better way to do this is to put all these component classes in another directive, and that is called layer, to say all this belongs to the component layer. And then in the component layer, you can put in the directives. And with that, the added classes P14 and P20 works. Let's try to create a card element that will be padding 7. Let's just start and put a lorem 50 in there. Let me put it in a P tag. I'm going to add a rounded LG border. I'll make it rounded XL. I'll give it 2 margin on all sides, and then create a shadow LG and also give it a white background. Underneath the P tag, I'm going to create a heading that is 2XL with a font bold heading, a margin bottom 2. I'm going to call this one H2. It's a header element, so I'll call it H2. And then this is a class which is used to create the card. So I can copy out this card. This is a component, and then I can bring it in here as a card. And of course, use @apply with the classes that I just copied out. And then here, I'm going to put card here. And then that takes up the card functionality. And this header, I added this as my H2. I'm going to copy this out because H2 naturally is unstyled because of the base class has unstyled it. So H2 is in this category. So I'm going to create the layer base. And then here I can say H2. I will apply this as the heading for H2. And immediately you see that the H2 changes because this becomes the heading for H2. So whatever H2 I create, let's create another H2 below, come down. And you'll see it's going to use this same styling because that H2 was created and I put it under the base layer because it's a base element. If you're also changing the way utilities work, you should put it under the @sign layer utilities so that it adds them to the utilities that are already available. This video is part of my course on Udemy titled Mastering Tailwind CSS with Project Example. Currently, we have 18 project examples that you can use. So go to the link in the description below for a sales coupon to access the course.